This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Well, hello there, Rubberduck. You're able to connect. What happened? Was it just you? I wasn't able to connect for a little bit over here. Is anybody else having trouble on here on X connecting? Are you there, Rubberduck?
Yeah, I'm here. It seems glitchy.
All right. Well, we'll soon
And
find
I'm not
out.
able to post. That much I know.
Yeah, I was having trouble getting into, and then some of my posts were coming. I wasn't able to post them, so it was weird. Anybody else having trouble? Give me a emoji. Give me a thumbs up if you are. I'm kind of curious to see what's going on. And hello, Rumble over there. So everybody, I'm not going to do my PSAs today because I think many of you kind of already know. Just because the time we do about 90 minutes, and I know a lot of you guys love to hear what Rubber Duck has to say. So Rubber Duck and I, there's obviously no agenda here. There's no script. We just kind of go with what's kind of going on during the day, the weeks, the what's happened overnight. So what do you want to talk about, Rubber Duck? You have anything specific?
Well, I mean, I wanted to get onto my X here. It says posts aren't reloading. So I at least have, because I have put out a couple of posts. I know, or tried to. I know that Trump put out, let me get there. Trump just put something out like 15 minutes ago, which was a good one. And okay, and I can get up. So
I think
Trump,
there's some.
he just went on this long, da 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 da, Iran, da 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 do, and he said in one sentence, he says they actually gave 1.7 billion in green cash, and green's all caps and in quotes. So that's also something to pay attention to. So that's why, he's talking about this Iran thing, and he's telling us basically that what he's doing in Iran is what he did in Venezuela, but it's a bigger, naturally, because it's bigger. It's a bigger operation, more complex. I would assume they're talking about tunnels and mountains. Iran's got tons of like deep, deep, deep natural underground tunnels, and natural underground tunnels, meaning old ancient tree root systems, and throughout their mountains and shit like that. That's hard terrain. We learned about that after 9/11, when they pulled that bullshit in Afghanistan and all over the place, traipsing through their mountains looking for fucking bugs and shit.
So what do you think we're going to see here happen within the coming days? I know he is putting out a lot regarding that. I'm trying to actually kind of catch up myself because I was a little bit busy over the weekend, but we know he's going to be reading from the Bible tomorrow. I think it's Corinthians 7 through 11. And then Cash Patel came out yesterday basically with Maria Bartoloma that for those of you that are saying nothing's happening, where are the arrests? The arrests are coming, everybody. And I have to believe in my heart of hearts, my opinion, maybe yours too, Rubberduck. But a lot of these people have already been captured, maybe dealt with, depending on their crimes. Just hasn't come out yet to the public to see. But Cash is letting everybody know it is coming. 107 did confirm that as well. What are your thoughts on all of that?
I think they're going to have to shut it all down. The whole thing. Everything. I
Okay,
mean,
when you
everything.
say shut it all down, what do you mean? Be
I just
specific.
mean they're going to have to shut this. There is no specific. I mean, everything. I mean, everything. I don't, the only path forward, is in so much as, not what we want to see, what we're expecting to see is if, the world's attention is all garnered into, harvested into one signal, and that's it. I mean, the TV's not on our side yet, and the TV is only good for comms right now, but you could tell people are getting, if I could feel it, I know everybody feels it, right? So, and the people are getting restless, you know what I mean? So, and there's
Well,
not too, yeah, go
I
ahead.
got information this morning that CBS has already been purchased by a Trump supporter. So,
Child
um,
Protective Services.
no, by a Trump supporter. CBS,
Oh, I
CBS.
thought you meant CPS. I'm like, what the fuck is he getting into that racket? I told you
Morning, everybody.
I
It's Monday.
actually I got a lot going on today outside of Twitter. I'm sorry, but I haven't caught up to most of it yet. But they did bid for CBS
Yeah, I
because
did. I
we know he's already got, we already know we got those behind CNN, although we might not see it on the screen. They've been behind. They were the first to capitulate as a network.
Yeah, no, I got that information this morning that CBS has already been purchased by a Trump supporter. So that's good news.
I mean, like I said, with regards to this, even if you go up, you take the 40,000 foot view. When I say they have to shut it down, I mean, they're talking about indictments for like members of Congress today for their Swalwell related type of activities. You know what I mean? All the shit that we knew, but due to the fact that that we haven't been, they haven't been publicly announced, arrests directly related to indictments. We all feel the bumbling, the gurgling, and the boiling under the surface, the simmering. But I don't know. Like I said, it will have to come in the form of an announcement on TV, and it will have to be something big enough that will shut everything down. Like I said, we went through the COVID for what? You know what I mean? So that they could prosecute, the end of the hot war, the kinetic war. I mean, now that that's over, if I know anything about Trump, and if we think we know anything about Trump, he ain't gonna wait until the day before, July 3rd, to come out and say, all right, guys, all clear. So at some time, at some point, things do have to start breaking apart. You know what I mean? And some people look at that as, oh, we're going to go through a rough time. I don't know how much rougher we can go than, being like assassinated, during a lockdown. Something those of us that we knew or know. So I mean, you can't say it's worse than that. If you want to talk about a scare event, I get it, but I thought, there were people that, thank God for Q at that point, because that's the only thing, instead of us being scared, we went to look. And we'll do it again if something happens, but there still has to be, the other people got to get up and get on board with it, in so much as their attention. Because the only people that don't smell a rat at this point are people that they're not there. And there's a lot of them, because they're just, well, yeah, that's not their fault. They're going to work. They're doing what we all supposed to been doing, allegedly, quote unquote, focusing on work, getting your paycheck, taking the 1 week family vacation, not giving a shit about anything, and just making sure our bank accounts get fat. So we know where that goes, and we know that we'll never come back to that again. So the only forward movement at this point is more people coming to meet us where we are. There won't be any more going back the other way. And I don't think there's some people that understand that and what that means, and then there's other people that don't. You know what I mean? We're approaching a point where another line in the sand is like another marker. Marker is something when you cross it, you can't go back. That's like another step, because the step behind you is gone. That whole world is gone. Like the world before COVID is gone. The world before Trump first term is gone, and
Yep.
it's all of it. So and I think we're going in that, except it's hastening, and we're having trouble keeping up with the information that's coming out, like how much. And even though we're familiar with a lot of it, not much catches us off guard. There's still just so much of it, and I don't know how many anons, other than us here, that kind of, sift around and go through it and try to aggregate it. And so again, that's at this point, anons, we've done all that we can do and still do it. But at this point, I'm more in a wait and see mode, waiting to see what the next thing's going to be, and then just being ready for it. Prior planning pays, at this point. So I'm ready for anything and everything, but, keeping everything guarded. And I still have zero expectations, because if you don't know what's going to happen, how the fuck, how can you have an expectation? None of us even know what this thing is going to look like when it's all said and done. We can only speak to shit that's happened, so it's frustrating. I know folks are frustrated out there because I see it, I hear it. It's a little frustrating for me, a little bit, not too much, but frustrating in the way that, you're watching a 10-year arc of, a comedy, a drama comedy, your favorite TV show, which is what this is. And it's like you go through a part where it's like, oh, so when you go and you binge it at a later point, you skip that season. You skip those episodes. Except here with this, you can't. You got to go through it. You got to live it. And even though a lot of this we've gone through and lived through and experienced before for the first time, we achieve the emotional arc, the highs, the lows, the loneliness, depression, anger, rejection, fear, blah, 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 all that stuff. And so we have to watch all these people go through it too. And I don't know about you, but the people that I like in my close family, those are the ones that we're going to have to be there for. I've learned, you know what I mean? And firsthand, because none of them are where we're at, and they're starting to experience their shit, and they don't know that their feelings are related to what's happening in the world. You know what I mean?
Well, I think what people too seem to think that, I just want things to go back to normal. Well, things were never normal. It won't go back to normal. So I tell my audience all the time, our world literally is going to be flipped upside down to be flipped back upside right, the right way, right? And it's funny you talk about the movie and stuff. We talk about that often, and they compare. If anybody's watched The Blacklist, and I haven't, and I'm gonna go check it out. But they talk about the Blacklist series with what was his name? Oh my gosh. Anyway,
Spader.
yeah, Spader. They compare that series to the Q movement, talking about a military operation, and everything. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm gonna go kind of check it out and see what they mean by that. But
It's true.
I don't know.
I watched it
Have
when
you heard that?
I
Okay.
watched it when it first came out. I mean, the
Okay.
first couple of seasons are simply extraordinary, and the season, if you get hooked on the character, which is the goal, because he's great. He's also used to be best friends with John F. Kennedy Jr., David Spader.
Yeah. Yep. I
So,
was just gonna say that.
is it David Spader or is it, no, it's David Spade. No, no.
No, wait. We're getting confused with
James
James
Spader.
Spader.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thanks, Dr. James.
He was in that
Good.
Seinfeld episode with the
Yes.
bulbous head and the sweater. How about Steve
Yep.
Bannon making billions of dollars from Seinfeld because he bankrolled Seinfeld in the 90s through of all companies, Rob Reiner's Castle Rock Entertainment.
Yeah, I did not know that about Steve Bannon.
That's fucked up. Yeah. Well, he had a little like an entertainment, like a finance, they bankrolled movies and scripts and stuff, similar to like a low scale Harvey Weinstein. But he was getting to a point where, and because they were looking for money to bankroll the show, because it was produced by Castle Rock and Rob Reiner at that time. It always was his company. And so somebody, I forget who it was, a bank or an entity, was going to, put a bid on it. And instead of doing it with cash, they did it in the form of shares. So Steve Bannon owns what accumulates to be approximately 1% of the entire Seinfeld estate worth, whatever that thing is worth. He owns 1% of it, and it's Seinfeld is like a fucking monster. It earns millions of dollars every day in syndication, which was his idea. The reason why he said he did it. So I mean, he was a banker. That's his deal. He was in the OSS Navy. Same thing as Posobiec. That other piece of shit.
That's a whole nother path. Everybody here, real quickly, if you guys don't mind sharing out the space, get some more people in here. A lot of people like to hear Rubberduck's information. So if you guys don't mind, go down to that purple pill and just repost it and get some more faces in here so they can maybe ask Rubberduck some questions. So Rubberduck, let's talk about this new Attorney General, Joe D. Giovanna. He says yesterday
Joe DiGenoa. Yep, he's
no, there you go. He says that, well, we all know he did. James Comey. He's basically calling out sold his soul to the devil, and kind of backing what Kash Patel was saying, that these arrests have to come. They're coming. What are your thoughts on this guy?
I'm a big DiGenoa fan. He back in 2000, I made a meme in September of 2019 of him on the left and Yoda on the right.
Seriously, that's funny.
Let me put my do not disturb. Hold on one second. Hold on. All right, I just want to put on do not disturb. So I have this meme, among other things. I got like 89,000 on this phone. Who knows how many terabytes of bullshit is on here? But so, and I go through my phone, as often as I can to kind of get rid of duplicates and keep it organized. And I keep scrolling past this, and it's from early. It's like back in when I got this phone, which is in 2019. And I'm like, I got to delete this. No, I'm not going to delete this. And then what the fuck was this about? Anyway, so I went back to September 2019 when I made it. And that's when he was a big player. If you guys remember, with Giuliani back in the 2020 election fraud with Sidney Powell, Lynn Wood, when they were doing their thing together, and sometimes with General Flynn and whatnot. So, and he's fucking brilliant. G. Genoa is an excellent attorney. He's like I said, he's very good at what he does. And by him I